The Alicization arc of SAO is terrible. The fans are delusional enough to believe that it's the best thing ever. I have no idea what they're smoking, because Alicization is a complete dumpster fire that somehow manages to be even worse than the already low bar set by the previous arcs. In this video, I'll explain why Alicization is awful. Part 1, Story. Honestly, I didn't really like the story. My biggest complaint would be that it's just so boring. There's tons of info dumping scenes where the characters are just standing and talking, or sitting and talking. The scenes don't just last a couple of minutes either. They literally take up the majority of the episode. Sometimes there's even entire episodes dedicated to exposition and info dumping. Furthermore, there are scenes where characters just come to a halt and stop in the middle of a fight to talk about stuff. Seriously? I get that they have to explain things and give exposition to the audience, but surely they could have come up with a better and more interesting way of doing so. After all, the first rule of storytelling is show, don't tell. There's a reason for that. The sad thing is I don't even know what they could have done differently. They created all these rules and laws that couldn't be understood unless it was thoroughly explained. So they kind of have to stop and explain everything, or else it wouldn't make any sense and there would be a ton of plot holes. Even after all the explanation, there's still a bunch of stuff that doesn't make much sense. Additionally, I found the plot itself to be really uninteresting. I was literally forgetting what happened as I watched the anime. I would watch the next episode, and by then I had already forgotten what happened in the previous episode. The characters would say something that occurred in the previous episode, and I would be like, wait, did that actually happen? Huh, I guess it did. I didn't even watch this anime one episode a week either. I waited for the entire season to finish airing and watched the episodes back to back. They don't even do a good job of getting you to watch the next episode. For example, in an anime like JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, it almost always ends on a cliffhanger, so you're eager to find out what happens next, and you can't wait to watch the next episode. The episodes in Sword Art Online Alicization kind of just end, and you're like, okay, I guess I'll watch to see what happens next, but you aren't very anxious to see the outcome. At least I wasn't. I feel that the main problem is that there was just no clear goal at the beginning. After you watch the first couple of episodes, you really have no idea what this arc is about and what's going to happen next. Whereas in the previous arcs, there was a definitive end objective that was explained in the first episode. For example, in the Aincrad arc, we find out in the very first episode that the players are trapped inside the game. If they die in the game, the nerve gear device will fry their brains and kill them in real life as well. The only way to escape the game is to clear all 100 floors and beat the final boss. Okay, the first episode sets up the stakes, and you get a general idea of what the series is about. You know what the characters will be working towards. There was nothing like that for Alicization. While the arc was much longer, it certainly felt more empty and hollow. There's no sense of urgency at all, no tension whatsoever. The first couple of episodes are about Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh working to cut down a tree. Then the next couple of episodes are about them training at a school. That's extremely uneventful. There's a few fight scenes sprinkled in here and there, but you don't really care about any of that, since you kind of already lost interest in the show. Even the fairy dance arc, for all its faults, did a better job at displaying a sense of urgency. You know that Kirito only has about a week to save Asuna. If he isn't able to save Asuna, then she'll be forced to marry Nobuyuki Sugo in real life. Kirito doesn't have all the time in the world, so he has to find the quickest and most efficient way possible to save Asuna before it's too late. Also, since everything took place inside a computer simulation, it really didn't matter what happened to any of the characters. It's not like they were real to begin with, so I didn't care if they died or not. For example, when Yu-Gi-Oh died, I felt no emotional response whatsoever. Most of the injuries in the show are completely meaningless as well. You can just easily heal someone else on the brink of death by transferring your own life force to them. That kind of stuff just removes all the danger and suspense. A lot of the mistakes from the previous arcs are once again repeated in this arc. For example, time skips. We get a 2-year time skip, which glosses over a lot of Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh's character development at the Swordcraft Academy. All of the relationships that the show tries to establish doesn't really matter since we didn't see any of that. The main issue is that the action and fight scenes were so few and far between, and they didn't last very long. As I stated before, I was so bored and lost interest in the show by the time they happened, so I genuinely didn't care much for the fight scenes. Overall, I feel that the story was way too pretentious. It's ambitious to a fault. The story felt like it was deep and philosophical, but in reality it wasn't. In my opinion, they needed to make the story more interesting and engaging for the viewer. Honestly, if I didn't make videos about Sword Art Online, I probably would have just dropped the series after 3 episodes or so, since I was just so utterly bored and struggling to stay awake. Part 2, Characters. I didn't really like any of the new characters either. They aren't very well fleshed out, and don't have much of a personality. For example, with Yu-Gi-Oh, all you really know about him is that he's a nice guy and he doesn't like breaking the rules. That's it. What more is there? All you really know about Alice's personality is that she's really serious and hardworking. Again, that's it. it. The new characters are not very compelling in the slightest. The main villain, Quinella, is quite underwhelming as well. I didn't feel like she was very intimidating or formidable. Ultimately, she didn't seem like a big threat. Kirito really didn't work too hard to defeat her in the end, and she was killed in one of the most ridiculous ways imaginable. I believe that the problem is that Quinella isn't even really introduced until episode 12. That's like a movie introducing its primary villain halfway in. They should have introduced her at the beginning, and slowly revealed more information about her. That way we know there's some bigger threat looming in the background, as Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh train to get stronger and meet Alice. Part 3. Animation. The character models are quite generic, especially the faces. For example, Yu-Gi-Oh looks exactly like Kirito, except with a different hair color and eye color. Other than that, I don't have much else to say for the visuals aspect. I can't say that I really enjoyed the Alicization arc, and I was pretty disappointed and let down. Considering the Sword Art Online fans constantly claim that Alicization is the best thing ever, I was expecting this epic story with huge stakes and lots of exciting things happening, and sadly I didn't get that at all. This anime definitely did not live up to the hype for me. Some of the mistakes in this arc can definitely be fixed moving forward, but I don't really see that happening given the track record of this franchise. Well, that's it for my review. What did you think of Sword Art Online Alicization? Do you agree with me? Probably not, I'm guessing. Let me know your opinion in the comments below. If you disagree with me, let me know why. As you can see, the Alicization arc is abysmal. The SAO fans need a reality check. They should grow up and see the world as it really is. Don't even bother watching the Alicization arc. I suffered through it so you don't have to. If you're in the market for a good movie, with romance, action, adventure, and comedy, then I would recommend The Lost City. Here's a recap.
A reclusive author gets kidnapped by an eccentric billionaire who hopes that she can lead him to a lost treasure from her latest book. In this video, I'll break down and explain The Lost City movie. The movie begins with author Loretta Sage writing the last chapter of her romance adventure novel, The Lost City of D. Loretta has trouble finishing the novel after the passing of her husband John, but she manages to eventually complete it. The main protagonist of the novel is a hero named Dash. He's portrayed on the cover of the novels by a model named Alan. Loretta goes on a book tour to promote her new novel. Loretta's publisher Beth makes her wear a one-piece sequin jumpsuit. Alan joins Loretta during the Q&A session. The book tour doesn't go so well. Loretta announces that this will be her final novel. She's burnt out and doesn't think that she can write another story. Loretta and Alan get into a big argument. Loretta is kidnapped and she's driven to meet a billionaire named Abigail Fairfax. He's a collector and wants to find the Crown of Fire, which is referenced in Loretta's book. Abigail needs Loretta to translate the language and decipher the symbols that describe where the Crown of Fire is buried. Abigail found the Lost City on a small island in the Atlantic Ocean. Loretta respectfully declines to help. Abigail is disappointed. Loretta is chloroformed and Abigail abducts her in his plane. Alan saw Loretta get kidnapped. Beth called the police, but they aren't able to do anything. Alan knows someone from a meditation retreat named Jack Trainer who can help find Loretta. Alan calls Jack and he asks for his assistance. Beth uses an app to locate Loretta since she's wearing a smartwatch, and they see that she's flying over the Atlantic. Alan will meet Jack where Loretta lands. Loretta regains consciousness. Abigail tells her that a volcano is about to erupt and everything will be destroyed, so they can't wait much longer. This is their last chance to find the tomb where the Crown of Fire is. Abigail takes Loretta to the Lost City. Abigail mentions that the city was built on a lava dome. When the volcano became active, the city rose to the surface. Abigail bought the entire southern half of the island when he heard what happened. Abigail's team has been excavating for a year now. Loretta is restrained, and she's forced to translate the language. Alan meets Jack on the island. Jack plans to save Loretta alone, but Alan tags along as well since he wants to help. Jack agrees if Alan stays in the car the whole time. Jack and Alan get in the car and drive off. Loretta translates some of the language, but it's not enough to reveal the Crown of Fire's location. Abigail is angry and he demands Loretta to translate it again. Alan tells Jack that he came because he wants to prove to Loretta that he's more than just a cover model. Jack breaks into Abigail's compound and he defeats several of the guards on his own. Alan also comes, but he doesn't really do anything. Alan and Jack rescue Loretta. There's not enough time to remove Loretta from the chair though, so they put her in a wheelbarrow. Jack blows up the compound and the characters escape. They reach the car, but Jack gets shot in the head. Alan puts Loretta in the car and he drives away. Alan stops near the edge of a cliff. Loretta fell out of the car since the door was open, but Alan goes back to get her. Alan breaks Loretta out of the chair. Loretta wants to drive to the airport. However, Loretta and Alan accidentally knock the car over the cliff. Abigail sends his henchmen after Loretta and Alan. Beth reports Loretta's kidnapping to the police, but they don't take it seriously. Beth notifies the police officers that Loretta is on some island, and they reply that it's out of their jurisdiction. eviction. Loretta and Alan take what they can from the car. Alan's phone is broken, so they can't call for help. Alan brought Loretta boots for the jungle since she's wearing high heels. Loretta plans to wait for rescue, but Alan responds that he's the rescue, so nobody else is coming. Loretta and Alan will have to walk through the jungle to the airport. Loretta tells Alan that the Crown of Fire and Lost City are real. Alan is excited since they're basically on an adventure just like what happened in one of Loretta's books. Abigail's henchmen are nearby. Loretta and Alan get into the water and they swim across the river. Alan gets covered in leeches and Loretta has to pull them off of him. Loretta finds some wall carvings near a waterfall that completes the translation. It mentions something about the Well of Endless Tears. Loretta and Alan climb a mountain to get away from Abigail's henchmen. Beth goes to find Loretta and Alan herself since the police won't do anything. During the night, Loretta and Alan start a fire and they take a break. Loretta and Alan sleep together in a hammock. Abigail's men are unable to find Loretta and Alan. They want to give up, but Abigail orders them to continue. A local man named Oscar is able to fly Beth to the island in his cargo plane since her normal flight isn't available today. The next morning, Alan is mad about Loretta taking Abigail's ancient parchment. He knows that Abigail is never going to stop hunting them now. Loretta and Alan get into another argument. Loretta thinks that she knows Alan, but it turns out that she's totally wrong about him. Alan reveals that he actually became a model so that he could get away. It was the only job that he could think of that would allow him to travel the world. Alan encourages Loretta to stop minimizing the people who love her work. Abigail's henchmen find Loretta and Alan, so they hide. Alan suggests Loretta give them the parchment, but she knows that they won't let them go. Alan has a plan. He rips part of Loretta's outfit to lure Abigail's henchmen into a trap. The henchmen crash into each other and they get knocked off the cliff. Loretta and Alan walk to a village. Loretta uses the payphone to call Beth and let her know that she's alive. The police will search for Abigail and they'll provide protection for Loretta and Alan while they're here. Loretta and Alan stay at an inn and they get a change of clothing. During the evening, Loretta and Alan start dancing together. A woman sings a folk song and Loretta hears something about the Well of Endless Tears. Loretta realizes that the tomb and the Crown of Fire are in a sinkhole in the jungle. Loretta wants to find the Well of Endless Tears and Alan agrees to go with her tomorrow. Alan goes to notify the police that their plans have changed. Abigail and his henchmen come to kidnap Loretta. They put her in a tank and drive away. Alan sees what happened and goes after Loretta on a motorcycle. Loretta notices that one of Abigail's henchmen is smoking. She pours alcohol on him and starts a fire in the tank. Alan tries to save Loretta, but he also gets captured. Loretta and Alan are held at gunpoint. Loretta is forced to reveal where the tomb and the Crown of Fire are located. Beth arrives at the police station, but they're closed. Beth comes up with a sob story, and she convinces the police to help. Abigail takes Loretta and Alan to the sinkhole, and they enter a cave. There's a narrow tunnel, and Abigail orders Loretta to climb through first. Loretta makes it, and the other characters climb through the tunnel. They find the tomb. It turns out that it's not a monument for the king's power like Abigail thought, but a hiding place for a grieving queen to be alone. Abigail makes Alan open the coffin. The Crown of Fire is actually just made out of red seashells. Carvings on the wall reveal the story. The king gave the queen one seashell every day for a year, and he made them into a crown. The actual treasure is the love between the king and queen. Abigail is furious for wasting so much time and money. The volcano is about to erupt. Abigail forces Loretta and Alan to get into the coffin. Abigail's henchman Raffi has a change of heart, and he puts a crowbar inside the coffin for Loretta and Alan. Raffi escapes on his own, and he leaves behind Abigail. Beth and the Coast Guard arrive to rescue Abigail since they don't know who he is. Loretta and Alan have a heartfelt conversation. They find the crowbar and use it to escape the coffin. Loretta takes off her wedding ring and she drops it in the coffin. Loretta and Alan flee as the volcano erupts. They jump in the water and follow the current to the ocean since all the other paths are blocked. Beth and the Coast Guard come to save Loretta and Alan. They reveal who Abigail really is. He tries to escape, but Oscar tackles and restrains him. Afterwards, Loretta writes another novel called Crown of Fire, based on what happened to her and Alan. Finally, the movie ends with Loretta and Alan going on vacation after their book tour ends. Alan asks Loretta what's next, and she kisses him on the beach. In the mid-credits scene, we find out that Jack is actually still alive. He goes to a yoga class and surprises Loretta and Alan. And that's the Lost City movie explained. The Lost City received mostly positive reviews from critics and audiences. The movie has made over $170.5 million at the box office. Which movie or anime should I explain next? Leave a suggestion. Check out some of the other videos on this channel. Well, that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to subscribe so you never miss a future upload. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.